Okay. This is from April 22nd, 2015. Governor Bentley warns proposed budget cuts would impact Alabama National Guard. Said they will see across-the-board service cuts like never before imagined. He sent the state legislature an emergency operation plan this week, back in April, to outline the effects of a bare-bone budget, and one cuts to the Alabama National Guard, they're worried about losing federal funding, the matching dollars. For every one state dollar, they get 7 matching federal dollars that come to Alabama for the National Guard. They lose more than 1,600 soldiers, and that's not good coming up on the hurricane season. And it would close as many as 25 National Guard armories. It's the second largest income producer in the state of Alabama. And 170 Air National Guard airmen are also at risk. The governor said proposed cuts would hurt operations at the 2 Air National Guard wings, one in Birmingham and one in Montgomery, and losses would be permanent. It says if the 25 armories in Alabama do close, the state would still have a bill of nearly $18 million to pay back to the federal government. Okay, and this is from the 29th of April. U.S. Steel CEO layoff notices nationwide rise to 9,000. And that's in Chicago. They employ 35,000 workers globally. Let's see. They've idled a blast furnace at Gary Works. I don't know if that's that or not. Must be. No, that's in Chicago. So far, they've laid off 2,800 workers across the country, including at Gary Works and the idled East Chicago 10. That's that one. Production has been cut because of the low demand for steel, and the CEO warned more layoffs could be coming. He blamed it on cheap oil and imports. Order rates have been significantly impacted by high levels of imports into the North American market. It says they're laying them off to cut costs. They've cut back operations at 8 plants, resulting in an estimated $200 million of annualized cost savings. Blast furnaces have been idled at Gary Works, Fairfield in Alabama, and Granite Works in Illinois. East Chicago 10 sits idle. The coke plant at Gary Works has been shut down for good. Over the first 3 months of the year, the steelmaker lost $75 million, 52 cents a share. Net sales plummeted 26%. U.S. Steel turned a profit of $52 million in the first quarter of 2014, its first profitable year in half a decade. And the company expects to cut operating expenses by at least $340 million this year through projects such as reducing inventory and freight costs that are part of the ongoing Carnegie Way initiative to make U.S. Steel profitable in good times and bad. The figure does not include $200 million in U.S. Steel. Does not include the $200 million U.S. Steel expects to save from layoffs and idlings, which he said would be temporary. And read all that shit. I got more here. And this is from this month, I believe. Yes. No, it's from July 29th. U.S. Steel posts 261 million loss, looks at permanent cuts. And that's in Portage. U.S. Steel lost $261 million in the second quarter as revenue plummeted by 34% amid a record amount of imports and sagging prices, which have plunged more than $70 a ton in the last 3 months. Second straight bad quarter and hundreds of layoffs in northwest Indiana. The company is looking to cut costs. It's focused on converting as much of the short-term cost reductions as possible into permanent improvements in our cost structure. Locally, U.S. Steel has already idled East Chicago 10, blah, 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 all that shit. Steelmaker is negotiating a new contract with its employees whose 3-year contract expires in September. A lot of shit happening in September. The CEO said during a conference call with investors, U.S. Steel saved $75 million from such short-term actions and should save another $175 million because of them in the second half of the year. The Pittsburgh-based steelmaker, one of Northwest Indiana's largest employers, lost $1.79 a share in the second quarter, but still declared a dividend of 5 cents per share. An estimated $136 million came from a write-down of the sold-off U.S. Steel Canada. The overall loss was still significantly higher than $75 million U.S. Steel lost in the first quarter, or the $18 million it lost during the same 3-month period last year. And they've taken aggressive action to address the extremely challenging conditions we continue to face in North America. They believe it will be within its guidance for projected full-year adjusted earnings for interest income tax. Before interest income taxes, depreciation and amortization of $700 million to $900 million, largely because of the ongoing Carnegie initiative to cut costs. There. See, I got more here. Just a minute. Here's from NASDAQ from yesterday. U.S. Steel to close Alabama blast furnace, cut 1,100 jobs. Update. Said it would shut its blast furnace and some steel finishing operations in Alabama, marking a significant retrenchment by the steelmaker as it tries to survive a weak market and competition from inexpensive imports. After losing money in the last 5 years, U.S. Steel is trying to remake itself by downsizing, cutting costs, and becoming more nimble and responsive to the market. Brazilian-born Chief Executive Mario Long, I guess I don't know how to put that, has said Pittsburgh-based U.S. Steel must adapt and that everything is on the table in remaking the company. Big changes are needed to cope with one of the most difficult times in recent memory for the American steel industry. Declining steel consumption in China, which, see there, we have China in there, which makes and uses around half of the world's steel, has led to an oversupply around the world. At the same time, oil prices have collapsed, hurting demand for steel, pipe, and tube, a key market for U.S. Steel. The closure in Fairfield, Alabama, which will affect 1,100 of the site's roughly 2,000 jobs, was widely expected. U.S. Steel has been building an electric arc furnace on the Fairfield site near Birmingham. That furnace, which makes steel out of scrap metal instead of the iron ore and coal used in a blast furnace, can operate with fewer workers and it's much easier to stop and restart. They said the move will improve the efficiency of its flat-rolled segment. Let's see here. This Leo Gerard, president of the Steelworkers Union, represents U.S. steelworkers in Fairfield, blamed it on imports. In particular, China has repeatedly violated international trade rules to bolster its state-owned industry while dumping its products into our markets, he said. and American workers have paid the price. See, here's more about it. Shit. I'll leave it all. See, they're blaming China there. Here's from Pittsburgh Business Time from yesterday. U.S. Steel to permanently close some operations in Alabama. Saying about pretty much the same. Shit. Oh. U.S. Steel, which has historically has only been a blast furnace operation, announced in March it would construct an EAF at Fairfield. While it's a substantial investment up front, the EAF steelmaking process is more cost-effective than the use of traditional blast furnaces. The move to EAF-based steelmaking at Fairfield would improve U.S. Steel's raw materials position for both iron ore and coke. Reduce its exposure to the merchant coal maker, lower maintenance costs, and reduce exposure to transportation costs. It has not disclosed how many it expects to employ after it's installed. It will work with the United Steelworker Union to address the transition and staffing needs. U.S. Steel started construction on it in the second quarter of 2015 and expect to complete it by the second half of 2016. That's really interesting. Last October, the company received $30.7 million in grants from the state of Pennsylvania, a portion of which covered a recent reline of the company's blast furnace at its Edgar Thompson facility in Braddock. And here's from yesterday evening. Concerns raised over U.S. Steel announcement to close blast furnace. There, I can't play that. Anyway, I guess that's a Fairfield resident, yeah. And United Steelworkers is continuing discussions with U.S. Steel after the company announced closing its blast furnace. The announcements came Monday and will affect more than 1,100 people who work there. The president of the company said the decision was made following a careful market analysis and was necessary to improve efficiency. People who live and work near the plant are worried about families and the economy's impact. Michael Leonard says it's not good at any time that many people getting laid off when their kids involved. Any time people that have been working a long time at a steady job and get laid off like that, it's bad. And more people on welfare, I guess. U.S. Steel is now discussing future working needs, including the potential addition of new operations at Fairfield Works. The union is also expanding its career development program. Mayor Kenneth Coachman calls the news devastating. He says it's undetermined how this will economically affect the city, but knowing the plant will still be open with 700 employees leaves a window of hope. Well, not much. Be all them people out on welfare. I don't have time to go through all this. I'll leave all the links. Carnegie Way. There's their page. The United States Steel. There's the CEO. Mario. Elimination of U.S. Steel audit staff puts human face on Carnegie Way. That's from September last year. Carnegie Way paying off more than U.S. Steel anticipated. And U.S. Steel, how Carnegie Way is saving money at U.S. Steel and accelerating. I'm out of time. Peace and love. I'll leave all these links. You can check it out. Bye.